Who's willing to trade me for all this toilet paper during the coronavirus outbreak for a Lamborghini Huracan? Don't lowball me, man. I know what I got. Hey guys, it's Josh from Shift Lounge. First, I want to say all that toilet paper, no, I'm not hoarding for the coronavirus. The reason I have it all is I have a 3-bedroom house and I live alone, so I use Amazon Subscribe and Save. So I've actually had that toilet paper for a couple months now, sort of working my way through it for every 6 months. So no, I didn't hoard any toilet paper, so don't worry, I'm not one of those crazy folks. Alright, so what I wanted to talk about today was now that the C8 is out and actually starting to be delivered, I've kind of been throwing around the idea of upgrading or maybe trading in and getting a C7 Z06 and getting rid of my C6 Z06. So today I wanted to kind of go over some of the sort of like pros of each of those and kind of then what I'm sort of thinking going forward for myself. So I guess the biggest thing starting with the C7 Z06 is that it is just a newer platform. Things as in cars as they get older just kind of age out and get worn, even if it's not beat on or anything like that. Plus, with it being a newer car, the interior is a lot nicer, in my opinion, than in the C6 Z06. And I actually don't mind the C6 Z06 interior. It was one of the first Corvette or even like just domestic interiors that I did not think looked just like absolute trash, and it hasn't really aged a lot and it doesn't look really dated, but the C7 Z06 interior is just nicer because it is newer. Another big benefit or reason why I would consider going to the C7 Z06 is just power potential. Just the LT motor, with it being supercharged, it's a lot easier to make a lot of power for not too much money. They come with 650 horsepower from the factory. They're not significantly faster than the C6 Z06, and I kind of go into that when I go over some of the benefits of the C6. But just being that you can just do minimal, just things like small pulleys and just bolt-ons, it wakes it up a lot more than on a naturally aspirated car, where it's going to cost you at least $3,000 to $6,000 depending if you do the labor yourself to do like a heads and cam or a basic supercharger package, and you're still only going to be around the 550 to 600-ish to the wheels. This next one, it's not really a plus for me, but for a lot of the old guys who I know buy Corvettes, it probably is. The C7 Z06 is actually available in automatic and having convertibles. Neither of those really excite me a whole lot. I don't really like convertibles, and I don't really like automatics besides on the daily driver because it sucks sitting in traffic with a manual transmission. But that is something that, if you were, some people also just don't have the ability to drive a manual transmission. I have one friend who unfortunately does not have the use of his legs. He would need to get a automatic C7 just so he could, have the hand controls to function it. So that's just, another benefit for some people. And I think maybe one of the biggest ones for me, and I guess one of the reasons why I would consider it, besides just subjective things like looks, is it doesn't have the heads issue that the C6 Z06 has. I posted a video a couple weeks ago, addressing it. And I do think some of it is overblown, but it is still a real issue, and the C7 Z06 does not really appear to have that problem. Okay, so now I want to talk about some of the benefits or the pluses of the C6 Z06. I think one of the biggest ones is that it's a lot lighter than the C7 Z06. So that just comes with, obviously the lighter the car, the easier it is to make it go fast. I was saying about how nice the interior is on the C7Z, but that also comes at a cost as far as weight. I don't know for sure, but I believe it's roughly about 300 or so more pounds than the C6 Z06 counterpart. I could be wrong on that, but I do know that there is, at least a couple hundred pounds difference. So that is a benefit of the C6 Z06. Another one, which may not be a big deal to a lot of people, but I know for a lot of domestic people, like the classic guys, is it's the last sort of big naturally aspirated engine. So you have a big old just 7-liter in there. I know it's a small block, but it's still a very large displacement engine, and you aren't probably going to see that going forward, just with the push on electric and just with the way emissions are now. Everything's like supercharged or twin turbo to get to those power levels. So it is for a lot of kind of like the domestic purists out there. the big NA is a big plus. And that kind of goes into the next one of what it's really simple to work on. Without all the extra added electronics, it's a lot easier for just kind of like the weekend mechanic, enthusiast to work on. So far, all the work that I've done on it, we've, done in my friend's garage. I haven't had to take it into a shop for anything. This C7, Z06 you definitely can, but just with the newer cars, it just gets more complicated with all the electronics involved in it. So that's, one thing where I think the C6 really shines in is that it's kind of on that borderline where there's some electronics and assistance on it, but it's not overly reliant on them. So that part is really nice, and I know that one's a big benefit for me. It's obviously not quite as simple as like a Dodge Viper GTS, but it is still a fairly simple car. The other thing, I guess, is I think it will hold value, and this one, I guess, to be fair, this is kind of more subjective, but I think it will hold value a little bit more down the road, and we're not talking just like 10 years down the road. Like 10 years, the C7 Z06 is still going to be more expensive, but, like 30 or some years down the road when you're talking about collecting, because it is, the last big NA motor, and it wasn't sort of plagued by problems when it was released. So when the C6 Z06 was released, it was just like a wow, like holy crap, like, Chevy did this, there's 500 horsepower, which I know isn't that much these days, but at the time, 2006, it's like, holy cow, this is, a crazy car from the factory. Versus the C7, there was that really embarrassing issue of it overheating at the track initially, and then GM, I think, said something along the lines of when it was originally tested, it wasn't for in those temperatures, it was like 65 degrees outside. I don't know, it was something like that. So just that initially kind of depressed the C7 Z06 market a little bit. So I think down the road, just, the big NA and being kind of like a wow factor when it was initially released, I think will make it hold value more. Again, I know that one's a little bit more subjective, but I do kind of believe that is the case, and I know I'm not also the only one. So with that being said, I've listed off a few benefits of each of them. I think for me, I'm still torn on what I want to do. Part of me really likes the C6Z, plus I already have it, I don't have to go shopping. I mean, it took me a while to find a car that met my criteria, low mileage, clean, all that sort of stuff. But I think, and I kind of left this one out because it is so subjective, I think the C7 Z06 is one of the best looking cars out there. I love everything about the way it looks. So, I don't know. It's something I'm definitely going to have to consider here going forward, but, there's just good reasons to have both cars. So I guess if you can, hey, just get both of them. That would be the ultimate way of doing things. But, with the stock market the way it was and the drop we had last week, I would have probably been better off just actually selling my old 401k from my old company and just buying the C7 Z06. Even after taxes, I wouldn't have lost nearly as much as I lost with the market drop. So, anyways, guys, I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you next time.